Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going over the 6 books that I read in December and I'm pretty excited to talk to you about them. First and foremost, I talked about this in my last video, plain background. I don't know where I'm going to be filming. Going through this phase in my life where it's the new year and I want our house to be super organized. So I've been moving a lot of things around and I don't quite know where my filming setup is going to be for the time being because my bookshelves are in the family room and I don't know. So I'm in Reagan's room right now. There's a plain background and it's kind of echoey because I still need to fill it with things, but we'll see where the filming of 2024 takes me, who knows. And also another thing I did want to mention is I will be doing another tier ranking of all the books that I read this year. I did that last year and I had such a good time doing it. I believe that's going to go up next week, so look out for that. But first and foremost, I read 6 books in December and I had a good time, I guess. So let's just jump into that. First, I read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second, to me, book in the Throne of Glass series the way that I'm reading them. I know there are multiple ways of reading them in different orders. This is the second one for me. So Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, I gave this 4 stars. I think this book got me more into the Throne of Glass series than Throne of Glass did. I enjoyed Throne of Glass. I had a really great time reading it. I gave it 4 stars. I also gave this 4 stars. This is probably more of a 4.5. But yeah, it's a continuation of a series. I feel like a lot happened. A lot happened in Throne of Glass, but I feel like a lot happened in this book. And there was like the moment at the very end where I was like, oh my god, like jaw dropped. Oh my god, I didn't see it coming and I was so excited. So I've been like itching to read Assassin's Blade, but I keep putting it off because I know once I read Assassin's Blade, I might just kind of steamroll this series because Throne of Glass was great. This was so good. Like, this was so good. So like I said with ACOTAR, if you read the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and you enjoyed it, but you're like, I don't know, just read the second book. Like, that's how that was for me. And then after you read the second book, you're like in. I think that's happening with me right now. Okay, anyway, continuation of a series. That's all I can really say. 4.5 stars. This was so good. Next, I read my book of the month. I'll put my book of the month referral link down below, as well as if there's any code. Just know if you do use my code, I do get a free credit as well, which I do appreciate. So if you want to sign up, feel free. This was my book for December. I actually got 2 books in December and my other book's coming. But this is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This is the second book that I've read by Kate Alice Marshall, coincidentally, both from book of the month. And I believe these were both of her adult thrillers. I do own one of her YA horror/thriller books that I'm really itching to read because I heard her YA is way better than her like into adult kind of reading books. No One Can Know, I ended up giving this, I think, like 2.5 stars. This book was about these 3 sisters, the Palmer sisters, Emma, Juliet, and Daphne, and you're following kind of all of their point of views as adults and as children. So their parents both die when they're kids, like very dramatically, and the kids sort of like find the bodies and they all kind of look at each other and are like, shh, but like you have no idea what happened. And the one sister kind of gets like put on the spot for it, kind of gets blamed for it, but they can't find definitive proof, so she just kind of goes about her life. But like the whole time, like you're following their point of views as like what happened that night as kids and then them coming together as adults, because Emma, the one that was blamed for it, finds out that her husband lost his job, they're pregnant, they have nowhere to go, but the house that like it happened as they were kids, they inherited it, and she's like, I guess we have to go to this house, we have nowhere else to go. But she's never wanted to go back because, you know, everybody in the town thinks she killed her parents and she just doesn't want to be there, bad vibes, whatever. And because they're back at that house, like the sisters end up coming back together and kind of reconciling. And if that sounds confusing to you, good, because that's literally the book to me. It was so, I don't know if maybe I'm just dumb, which is a very high possibility, but it all was just like going over my head and I had absolutely no idea. Like, I felt like Kate Alice Marshall didn't even really know what was happening, didn't even really know how the parents died, and the whole like thing was just so confusing to me. It was supposed to be this really intense mystery thriller and I just felt like it fell very flat. I didn't really understand what was going on the entire time. The multiple point of views from even them as adults and them as children was just a lot, and I don't know, I just didn't really love it. It was a very short, quick thriller, but this was the second adult thriller that I've read from Kate Alice Marshall, and I think if it ever shows back up on Book of the Month, I'm just gonna have to pass because I just don't think it's for me. I just don't think it's for me. However, I am looking forward to reading her YA horror because I heard it's better, so 2.5. And then I finally decided to jump the gun and read one of the books that my husband suggested I read. He has a little cute bookshelf, which I guess is like also mine too, but he said he wanted me to read his favorite book, and it's from a genre that I've never read before, which is sci-fi. So I read it, and it's Artemis by Andy Weir. I loved this. I gave 4 stars. This could also have been maybe 4.5. I had such a great time reading this. This is about Jasmine, who lives on the moon on Artemis, which is like essentially made up of a bunch of these like bubbles where all these people live in. And it's kind of like a tourist destination. A lot of people from Earth that are really, really rich like to go there. And so there's the people that like live there because they're rich, but then there's also the people that kind of cater to the rich, so they're there as the tourist destination. So Jazz is somebody who moves things. She's sort of like a courier. Like they kind of call her up on her little pager and they're like, hey, we need this taken to this and this taken to this, and she just kind of runs around and does that and takes things from place to place. But she wants to be rich. She wants to have a lot of money because she sees all these people, and she also owes a really huge debt. So she's trying to get rich fast and essentially is brought into this big like heist situation, this crazy scheme, and yeah, it kind of goes from there. The ball rolls from there. And I had a really good time reading this. I really enjoyed the idea of them being on the moon and all the kind of aspects of living in these bubbles and these pods. I really enjoyed it. I think sci-fi might be a genre that I do kind of want to explore a little bit more, especially from Andy Weir. My husband also has Project Hail Mary and The Martian. I've seen The Martian movie and I really liked it, so I might read the book. So I don't know, I'm thinking about kind of dipping my toes a little bit more into that because I had such a great time with Artemis. I felt like it was really fun. Again, another like quick, fast-paced story. I felt like there was no kind of lull. It was all kind of moving quickly, and I really enjoyed that. And I liked Jazz as a character. There were a lot, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of side characters, and after a couple of like beats, I really didn't know who was who. I just kind of like, once she would say the name, because I'm not good with names as it is, she would say the name, but then she would like mention what sort of job they're helping her with, and then it kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, that's the scientist, or oh, that's like the cop. Like it made sense to me, but man, there was just so many side characters. It was a little bit difficult, but I really liked this. I had a great time with it. I think this was like Goodreads book of like 2017 or something, and that's for a reason. It's very, very good. I also think if you're interested in trying out sci-fi, this would also be a really great starter for you because it was a good starter for me. And yeah, I really liked it. Next, I read the 5th book in the Wayward Children series, which is Come Tumbling Down by Shauna McGuire. Y'all know I love the Wayward Children series. This one follows Jack and Jill again, the twins. The book was the 2nd book in the Wayward Children series, and I think I gave it 5 stars because I love the world that they go to. It's called The Moors, and so far it's been like the more horror-filled book, or like horror-filled area, and it's really cool, and I really liked it, and I liked the semantics of it. I didn't think we needed another one. I feel kind of bad saying that because like I really like this series, and this book was fine. These are very, very, very short books. They're less than 200 pages. They're really quick and easy to read. I just don't feel like I guess, I don't know, some of the things that like these characters do and like go on in this book, I think is probably gonna set us up for future books, which is fine. But this just kind of felt like a weird filler, and it made me kind of sad. I ended up giving it 3 stars just because I didn't enjoy it as I've been enjoying all the other ones. But there was some really cool aspects to it because their world is so like divisive. Like there's not just like one singular thing. Like confection is just like sugar and candy, but the Moors, there's like vampires and mad scientists and the drowned gods and like mer people and like a lot of different things that you don't necessarily interact with, or you didn't necessarily interact with in their first book. So I liked knowing about that, and I think, like I said, this is going to set us up for future books, but this just wasn't my favorite. I didn't have a good time. It was just kind of like another one of those like adventure where they all go on an adventure sort of situation. So 3 stars. Then I read the 2nd book that I picked up from Book of the Month for December. This is called A Winter in New York by Josie Silver. This cover is so, I have such a thing for these like hand-drawn romance covers. They're so cute. I just really love them. And the initial reason that I got this book was because when I was reading the synopses, they said the main character's name was Gio, and I love that, so I had to grab it. I ended up ultimately giving this 3 stars. It felt like a rom-com. Like I felt like I was watching a rom-com. It was very cheesy. a lot of it was very, this would not happen in real life sort of situations, but it was very cute. Like, it was just cute, and it was like a good read. It's about this girl named Iris who moves to New York City after experiencing the loss of her mom and also coming out of like a really terrible abusive relationship, and she falls into this sort of found family of working at this noodle house. So her and the owner of the noodle house and the noodle house's partner become sort of like friends, which is really nice and like wonderful for her. And she's a chef, which is why she works there. And they're like wandering the streets with it. This is all within like the first 10 pages. They're wandering the streets of this like festival, and she sees this gelato shop that like sparks a memory of her mom who passed, being like, my mom has a picture in front of this gelato shop, like what is this? And she goes in and realizes, you know, lots of different things about this gelato shop and her mom have connections, and it's very cheesy, but like I said, it just reminded me of a movie. Like, I truly feel like this is gonna get made into a movie, because, or at least parts of this, like this premise, because it just felt like watching a rom-com. It was very cute. Gio is the owner, kind of. He works there. He's eventually gonna own the gelato shop, and there's lots of talk of food and ice cream and gelato, and it's very wonderful and delicious, and it made me hungry the whole time. But this was cute. I don't think it was my favorite romance I've ever read, but if you want like a cute, wintry romance type book, I think this might be your vibe. And because that book took me so long to read, like, not that it like put me into a reading slump, but I just like I wasn't like itching to pick it up. I just didn't, like, as I was reading it, I was enjoying myself, but I wasn't just like, I really want to read, you know what I mean? So because it did take me so long, I was like, I just want to read like a graphic novel, something I can knock out in one night, something that's gonna make me happy to be reading again and make me excited. So I read the second book or the sequel to Sheets. This is Delicates. Like I said, this is the sequel to Sheets. This is by Brenna Thumler. I really like this graphic novel series. There's one other one I need to pick up called Lights. I feel, so this is very middle grade to me, because this is something I would totally recommend to like a middle school to high schooler. However, if you are a parent recommending it to your child, I would look up some of the trigger warnings, because this book is really sad. Like really sad. Like, the first book was sad because the ghost was already like of a dead boy, but there's like things going on with like the real life kiddos that made my heart hurt so bad while reading this. Like I said, I gave this 4 stars. It was very sweet. I did enjoy it. I am going to read the next book. I don't know if this is a trilogy or if it's going to be a continuation after Lights, but I thought it was really sweet. I love the illustrations. Like, they're so, you don't really go from the dead world to the living world in this one too much. The difference in the first book was cool because it was like black and white versus colorful, but I don't know, the art's really good. So that's Delicates. And that is everything that I read in the month of December. I had a really great reading month. I had a really great reading year. I read 70 books, which is kind of crazy, not gonna lie, but I feel like I had a pretty decent reading month, and here's to hoping 2024 is a really good reading year, because I have so much on my TBR that like I know I'm gonna like. I just have to get to it, you know what I'm saying? I just have to get to it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.